Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times. Today I'm here to talk to you about a movie that I just watched today, and that is Wrong Turn.
It's coffee time.
So when Wrong Turn was announced as a reboot, as a new take, I was kind of excited because in the last couple of years I have seen a couple of reboots that have worked. So I was kind of hoping to get a fresh, modern interpretation of the first movie from 2003 that I personally enjoy. I know the Wrong Turn franchise is not the best because the sequels were, well, they were just not great movies. But I do have a soft spot for the original from 2003, and I actually rewatched that one in part 2 in preparation to watch the new movie from 2021. So today we're here to discuss the film, spoiler free as always. If you love horror in movies, please consider subscribing to the channel before you leave, and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss any more coffee times. Wrong Turn, also known as Wrong Turn: The Foundation, is a 2021 horror film directed by Mike P. Nelson. The film is a reboot of the Wrong Turn film series. The project was announced in October 2018 with Nelson signed as a director from a screenplay written by McElroy, who wrote the original film. Now, this movie starts with a complete different scenario, and I did enjoy the opening scene because even though it was a little bit abrupt, I felt like we were going to go into a complete different take on the story, but respecting the original a little bit. And we see this father that is going to a police station on a small town, and he's asking about his daughter who is missing, and her phone is, setting this village as the last location where she was. So he is just, looking for her, filing a missing persons report. After this opening, we get to see a group of friends that are traveling in their car. They're a group of friends from New Jersey. They're traveling to Virginia to do the Appalachian Trail. And I'm like, okay, this is exactly, what I was expecting. A group of friends in a car that take a wrong turn, right? Wrong. This movie, if there's something that I can tell you, this is not a wrong turn movie. And I kind of wish somebody would have told me this before I went into the movie, because I also feel like that has a lot to do with the way that I saw the film, because I was really expecting what was promised, which was a reboot. So when this group of friends get to the town, they're being told to never leave this trail because there is something else in the woods that is really dangerous. But as we all know, there's going to be something that is going to make them leave the trail and get them in danger. Unfortunately, these characters are, a group of friends that we never really know where do they know each other from. Why are they doing this, this trip? Is it just for self-discovery? What's happening? So the problem is there is already a big disconnection with the characters from the very beginning. And if this would be a typical slasher horror film, I would kind of understand, because character arc is not something that, they're well known for. But I feel like this movie was trying to be serious, and that is why giving us a little bit more information about the characters and the reasons for being there would have helped a little bit. While the 2003 film was basically a pure slasher fun, without being a serious film, I feel like this reboot was trying to be perhaps way too serious. And we see this group of friends that are really sticking together, and they are like really super good friends. So whenever somebody gets killed or hurt, then there seems to be all of these like emotional baggage there. Like they're trying to make these scenes like really emotional, and the death's like this super tragic thing. And honestly, it just didn't work for me, to be honest. Like I didn't feel like I cared. I was just there for the gore and the fun, because I just expected just a simple slasher film. The practical effects were good, I have to give it to them. I really did enjoy the little gore that we get. Sadly, it's not as much as I would have hoped, and a lot of the scenes you don't really see the actual killing, but you see the aftermath, which is also something that, you know, I'm a little bit iffy about. Like, if you're going to really put, you know, your money on practical effects, which this movie did, then why not showing us the whole thing and really go for it? I blame these expectations that I have now when it comes to the in-your-face gore to movies like The Furies, that in the recent years have been just one of the best practical effects slasher movies I have seen, and I'm never gonna stop raving about that film. So I feel like now my expectations are a little bit higher. When it comes to the acting, it was decent for the most part, but I had some issues with some of the decisions that our characters were making, and the movie has a lot of plot holes, and there's no way to take them, which is also frustrating when you're a viewer and you're realizing that there's all of these plot holes in the film. While in the original we had these antagonists, these villains that were these super disturbed, messed up, cannibal family of inbreds, and that is kind of why the franchise worked, even though, you know, the quality of the sequels might not be, you know, the best, but that's why it worked. That is what Wrong Turn is about. And in this movie, I feel like, again, they took things super seriously. They tried to elevate the movie by creating this more complicated kind of antagonists, you know, villains, and to give them kind of a more modern look to them, and they are no longer a family of cannibal inbreds. And so the whole point of the Wrong Turn movies kind of goes missing a little bit. Like, first of all, our main characters don't take a wrong turn with a car, and then the people that are hunting them have nothing to do with the characters that we know from the previous movies, from the franchise. And, you know, you're rebooting a franchise and you're taking away everything that made the franchise what it is. Also, the poster of this movie is kind of already revealing to you how the antagonists are gonna look like, in a way, and so when you get to see them in the film, I just didn't have the same impact. And also, when they are introduced, you already see them, or I got the impression that they were weak and that they were not like evil. I didn't feel like they were unsettling. Like, all of these things that were supposed to create this atmosphere for a horror movie, they just didn't work for me, so I couldn't even take it serious. So even though the movie was trying to create tension, they were really trying to build it up and not show us these family, these antagonists, these villains until further into the movie. When you get to see them, that's when actually I started to get bored. So I kind of really enjoyed the first part of the movie, and then when our characters actually get introduced to the villains, that's when it started dragging for me and I started feeling really bored. But I have to say that, you know, as a horror fan, even though the villains were not scary for me or unsettling or anything like that, I did enjoy all the kills that we do get to see in this movie. They were brutal, they were gory, and I did enjoy that. So if that's all you're looking for when it comes to the horror, that might work for you. But I sometimes want to have a little bit more of tension, atmosphere, something else added to the story, and I did not really get that from this movie. Also because the cinematography, like the lighting and everything, it was a little bit all over the place. Also all over the place was the narrative. It was just uneven, and there is a problem, which is that this movie again is trying too hard. In this case, it's trying not to go to the typical horror tropes, but the movie is still cliche, and that is a problem as well with the film. Is like, either you embrace it or you just don't do it. So even though this movie really tried, I did not see much originality at all in the film. And for me, you know, the reason why I'm being so perhaps negative about this movie is because this was advertised as a reboot of the original 2003 Wrong Turn, and we've already established that it has nothing to do with that movie. And the thing is, if you're going to do a remake, for me, a remake would work if you take the main premise and the main kind of essence of the movie and turn it into something completely different, modernized, but still making some winks to the original, like The Invisible Man did, which was just fantastic. And it didn't copy the original at all. It was a complete new different thing. Either you do that or you respect the original material and make enough changes to adapt it. So one movie that did this really well is Child's Play. I was really surprised as to how much I enjoyed this film because they took the main idea of the doll of Chucky and they turned it into something more modern, respecting the original material but giving it a complete new idea, and it just works so well. But this movie sadly has nothing to do with the original, but it's also not bringing anything new to the table when it comes to taking the concept and turning it into something new. So and in the end, it just like was a mess. It was just all over the place. They even tried some political, social commentary, but it also didn't blend in well with the whole story. So again, a mess. Time to talk about the ending. Spoiler free, of course. The ending was disappointing. Are you surprised? I guess not. And this movie was just too long. It was just too long. It seemed like it was never gonna end. And towards the end, they were trying to do something a bit creative, I guess, but it just didn't work. And even though the only character that actually has a decent character arc in the story is Jen, the main girl in the story, the problem I had with her is I could not connect to her at all. There was a disconnection there, and I could not even care about anything related to her anyways, and it was a pity because she as a main character could have been so much stronger in this film. Also, when the movie ends, there is kind of like a post-credit scene that, again, unnecessary. It's like they didn't want to finish this movie, so they just kept going and going, even though it wasn't even necessary. They should have just wrapped it up a long time ago. I feel like this movie was trying to be several movies packed into one, and that is the main issue of this film. That's why a lot of things were all over the place in this movie. I feel like instead of just trying to be a reboot from Wrong Turn, which this is not a Wrong Turn movie, I feel like if they would have taken the idea that they had from these people, from these villains, and turned it into a fresh new take, fresh new horror movie, completely detached from the Wrong Turn franchise, it might have worked better, actually, to be honest. I feel like there is a lot of lost potential when it comes to these foundation, and I also wish this movie would have given me a lot more in-depth information. It would have explored more the foundation, where it comes from, and all of those things. I just felt like it was half-baked in a lot of ways. So all that being said, you guys, I ended up giving this movie a rating of 2 out of 5. I do feel like they had good intentions. I did enjoy the first part of the film, the very first part, and then it just became such a messy narrative. The characters were just, you know, just superficial. I couldn't connect with them, and there was a problem when it came to the villains of the story as well. Everything was a little bit underdeveloped, and they didn't really hit the mark with anything because they were trying to be many things at the same time. I really did enjoy the killings and the gore of the movie, so you know, that's plus points for it. So those are my reasons for the low rating, which this low rating means basically, you guys, I do not recommend you to check out this movie, but if you really want to, be my guest, of course. This is not the worst movie I've ever seen, but do not go into the movie thinking this is going to be a Wrong Turn film, because it is not. I don't know if they just took the name in order to market it better, but I would have loved to see this movie just called The Foundation and just see a complete new take on something else and try to seek for, you know, originality, and not just try to be a reboot of a movie that it's not a reboot. This is not Wrong Turn. Like, don't lie to me. Anyway, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed this movie review. I hope it didn't turn into much of a rant, but I just watched it today and the feelings are still there. The disappointment, the anger is still there, so it comes across a little bit. Anyways, I hope that you enjoy my thoughts on the movie. Let me know down below if you've already watched it, what you thought in comparison to the 2003 film, if you've watched it as well. Also, it will be interesting to hear from people that have never watched the original franchise and this is the first time that they come across a movie called Wrong Turn. Or what if you watch the new movie and then go back and watch the original franchise? Like, it of course is going to change the way that you're going to experience the movie. So that's why it's always great to hear from you guys in the comments, because everybody has a different experience with movies. So let's talk about it in the comments down below. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Please give the video a big thumbs up for support before you leave, and I hope to see you all guys in the next coffee time. Bye.